this podcast. This is a podcast where we help you claim your power, clarify your purpose, and cultivate your deepest, widest, and highest passions possible. So ultimately, you can show up as a better, best, more sharpened, wiser version of yourself, and ultimately inspiring others to do the exact same thing, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day: growth, contribution, and experiencing levels of love and depth at grand levels that you couldn't otherwise have experienced unless you went on you took what was fearful and what was hard, what was dark in your life, and you dove right into what was tough. So congratulations for joining us. Congratulations for listening to this podcast. If you're listening to this for the first time, great. If you're a seasoned veteran on this podcast, thank you for listening, for continuing to listen. And I have to thank you not just for listening, but man, you guys are out there, listening, taking time, because time is one thing that we can't get back. Is one resource we can't get back. So whether you're listening to this in your car and not listening to the radio, or listening to 680 News or whatever news station, you're choosing to listen to something positive, something powerful, insightful, thought-provoking, and that will shift your mindset alone. I remember, again, as I said, one original mentor said to me, where you'll be in 2 years will depend on what you read, what you listen to, what you watch, and who you hang around. So I took command of what I listen to, what I watch, and what I read on a consistent basis, and it's made a lot of the difference. And who I hung around, and if you don't have any examples of great people around you, we have access to the internet that we could read about great people, biographies, go to the library, go to download PDFs of biographies and books and ebooks. Watch webinars, go on YouTube. We have access to it all, ladies and gentlemen, to change our life, to feed our brains the right material, so we can gain the right knowledge, wisdom to not just be successful but and achieve. And that's part of it, but to feel fulfilled and happy and feeling like your life has meaning and it matters. So thank you for joining us. So that was a long intro. Sorry. I tend to go off on tangents, as my buddy Cameron from Chatham knows that. What's going on, man? It's always a pleasure to see you, man. What's going on?
Not too much. Well, actually, there's a lot going on, but feeling really good. And, like you said, it's really all about helping people become their greatest version so that they can lead by example, and then the person they led can lead themselves by example, and then it's just this big ripple of and it's weird how a lot of people think that's such a distant thing, like it's it's never gonna happen, I'm just one person, but really, like, we can all make a difference. We're not just we are just one person, but we're so connected to everybody around us that it really does make a difference to lead by example. So
amen. Well, if you think about everything I teach, everything that I talk about, it's not original content. None of this is original. I've heard it from many different sources. If I might say it a different way, but if it's common knowledge, then it's common domain. It's wisdom. It's someone else said it before me, long before. And my mentors, they were taught by mentors, and you keep on passing it on. Some people sharpen it. Some people say it in a different way. Some people tell stories. Some people use metaphors. But the point of the matter is that you're here on this podcast, whether you're listening to this, again, passively or actively on whatever platform. The key is that you're consistently listening. And you know what? I often tell people, it's not about what you listen to, it's the consistency and the repetition of listening to it consistently over and over. I remember Zig Ziglar saying, you should listen to the same audio program. Like, if you're listening to a podcast, like if one podcast session really resonates with you, listen to it 17 times. And by the 17th time, you're going to memorize everything that I say. And then all of a sudden my voice then becomes your voice. And all of a sudden you'll start to basically memorize what I say, how I say it, and it'll seep deeper, and you can kind of rearrange the words if you want to. But the point is, as long as it resonates with you, and all of a sudden then it becomes a deep embedded sort of song that replays inside your mind, and that becomes the forefront of what you're focusing on and your attention. And all of a sudden you start to feel better because your language starts to change, your thoughts start to change, your whole entire framework and blueprint of life starts to shift. So that's amazing. That's how I started, and my life has never been the same. So anyways, this particular podcast, we're going to talk about accelerated progress, and how do we get ourselves from taking small steps to going not just fast, but everything starts to align. And one of the things that I've recently discovered is, not recently discovered, but I embody every single day. I do a lot of things that I do. I got to make sure I love it. Like, I got to make sure I love it. There's obviously things during my day where I don't don't like finishing my taxes. I don't particularly like it, but I find a way to like it. And I give thanks for paying taxes. And for the people out there that hate paying taxes, guess what? I can tell you right now, the taxes we pay in Canada are worth it. We're one of the greatest countries in the world. We're beneficiaries of free healthcare. We have a police department. It pays for teachers, it pays for firemen and women, police officers, doctors, and we can go to a clinic right now and get free healthcare. We can pick any doctor in Ontario anyway for free and get free healthcare. It's not really free; it's paid for by our taxes. But you know what? I'm willing to pay those taxes so I can. Everyone contributes, and everyone's contributing to society for the unfortunate, for people that are for doctors, for to keep our streets safe, for construction, all those things. So, anyways, I'm going off on a tangent. The point is, here's what I want to get to. I want to start with a story. There's a gentleman who was a high executive at one point in his career. And he was just he reached a tipping point where he was just hit a wall. He just didn't find fulfillment in his job. He never really did find fulfillment in his job, but he was a high paying executive. He worked his way up and he thought money was everything. And basically what happened was he decided, you know what, I'm going to try something different. What's something I've always wanted to do? And by the way, this man was in his later years. We're talking in his 50s and 60s. We're not talking, in his 20s and 30s. We're talking later on when he's built his career, accrued all this money and success and whatever not that we do in the first half of our life. But second half of his life, he's like, I want to do something different. And so he had a specific love for birds, and he quit his job, and he started reading everything about birds that he could, and he started reading everything about what he could about birds, and then he started reading every book he could get his hands on about birds, he started writing his own books about birds. And he then became a doctor, an ornithologist, and then he works at a museum and he writes books, and he fell in love with it. And he became a pretty renowned ornithologist, a doctor of ornithology. And he's may not have been making the same amount of money, but let me tell you something. What he did in a very short time, he was able to, because he loved it, because he was doing something he loved, he was able to accelerate his progress. He was able to get more done in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years than he did in his previous career doing something that he hated in 20 or 30 or 40 years, spending time something that he didn't like. So to you people listening to, here's the point. If you spend a lot of time doing something you don't like, then you're not going to put your full effort into it. It's going to be a job. It's going to be a task rather than something you're looking forward to. I remember Damon John, even the guy that started FUBU, right? The FUBU clothing wear. He's one of the sharks on the Shark Tank show. And I remember seeing him live. One of the things he said was, one of the pieces of advice he gave the audience was, this was a guy that was making clothes in his mom's basement. He had to take a loan from his mom. His mom had to get a second mortgage. He was struggling, and he was selling his clothes on the street. He was struggling. Point is, he loved it. He loved selling clothes. He loved making people look good through his clothing line. Anyway, point being is this. He basically was asked this question because I recommend you find something that you love to do, that you're really interested in, and just do it. And one thing I can tell you right now, the more you love something, the more you're going to be urged. It's not, you're going to have to push yourself to do it. You're going to be pulled to do it. As Carl Jung says, it's like, I didn't have purpose, purpose didn't have me. I didn't have love, love had me. I didn't have passion, the passion had me. And once you're there, your progress automatically accelerates. And I know this is true in Cam's life. I know this is true in my life, that when you're on the journey of fulfilling what you were meant to do on this planet, on this journey, whether it be a teacher, a stay-at-home mom or dad, or a CEO, an entrepreneur, a trainer, a life coach, a dentist, whatever, a doctor, whatever career, an engineer, whatever career you're in, if that's not the career, fine. I'm not saying quit. What I am saying is this, is that if you start to cultivate the things that you really love in life and start to study those things and start to really learn more about those things, your growth you'll get more done in 1 year in doing something you love to do than you would doing something you hate to do in 10 years. I can pretty much guarantee that. I'm not saying there's not going to be fear, but the greatest antidote to fear is what? Love. And when you love something, the fear has no place. It does not hold a candle to the things that you love to do, especially when it brings you and other people around you joy and this feeling of that your life has meaning. And when you inspire other people through your example of doing things you love, and you're accelerating your growth and you're making a difference, people are inspired by that. And when they're inspired, when they're in spirit, and when they feel like, wow, their life has meaning through your example, they too are inspired. They too feel like their life has meaning, and they are inspired by your example, and they might quit their job, or they might take another completely different path, and whatever that might be. And so how do you accelerate your progress? Start doing things that you love more and more and more. And if you find yourself learning, earning, and returning, then you're on the right path. And I'm not saying there's not going to be challenges, or you're not going to be adversities. What I'm saying is that the love will be so strong for those avenues, those activities, that you'll bust through them so much easier than doing something that you hate. And it's like, oh God, I don't want to do this. And you'll find an excuse not to do it. What about you, Cam? Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I definitely have a lot of experience with getting things done and achieving things and accomplishing things. I do that a lot. And Jessica just said follow your bliss, which is a very important thing.
Follow your bliss. Amen, sister.
Yeah, I remember waking up one morning and I wrote down, nothing good ever came from trying to make the day something that it is not. Mm-hmm. So trying to resist what is and go against the grain. We have like a natural current, and we're always trying to swim against the current, which is impossible. It's very strong. And if we go with it, then an unbelievable amount of things can be possible now. Like all these doors start opening.
Oh, and,
And like when I look back at when I've accomplished most, it's been against what everybody has told me to do, against what like seemed right for me in the moment. From an outside point of view, but in my heart, I knew this is what I need to do. Yeah. And, so with my YouTube channel, we produced 127 videos in just a few months. Yeah. That's insane. That took so much, but it didn't feel like so much. It just happened. I don't even remember doing it. Yeah. I look back and I'm like, these are awesome videos, like well edited, shot perfectly, yet it wasn't me who did it. It was something that took me over. The album that I produced when I was told that I wasn't able to produce and that it would take me years to learn, took me a couple weeks, and I got going and I released it in just a few months. I spent countless nights in the studio, but I don't even remember that. Like it was all of that was taken care of. And I think when we follow that, it's just like people know the answer. It's weird. They're constantly asking for answers, but deep down, like if you would just like chill,
just trust and trust, man. That's the biggest. I think even a guy like Jesus Christ who praised faith more than love. Like love your neighbor, love your enemies, yes, but faith, man, you can move mountains with faith. Like you can love everybody, but then it also takes, I often say to people, listen, be lovingly faithful, but faithfully love. Lovingly faithful to consistently plant seeds of love, but faithfully love means letting go and trusting that the love is going to work in the other person, surrendering the outcomes to a higher power, to love, to divine energy, or God, or whatever it might be that you're talking about. But the point of the matter is that when you trust and let go, you enjoy the process. You are aligned with your deepest desires, your heart of hearts, your soul of souls, and you're one with spirit. Man, it's nothing that is impossible. Walking on water literally becomes something that you think you could do one day, and maybe you would. But I mean, I remember hearing a story by Deepak Chopra, and one of his mentors or gurus was telling a story about a true story in India where there was this guy who was meditating, and he's been meditating for like, I don't know how long, like hours and hours and days even. And he was sitting there and there was a bunch of snakes, like cobras, that were biting him. And he was not being affected by that. And the student said, "Oh, Guru," he's like, "You've been bitten by, we need to get you a hospital. And the guy wasn't being affected by the poison of these snakes that are around him. And the guru said, what are you talking about? He goes, "Well, there's snakes. You're getting bit. We got to take you to the hospital." He said, "No." He goes, "I don't see snakes. I only see God." And in one sense, he saw love. Everything is love. Everything is divine energy. And he somehow, through his highest consciousness, was able to convert the venom to nectar in his body. And I don't know how he does that, but if it's possible for someone to do that, or someone to take a bunch of drugs and it won't affect them, I'm always amazed by stuff like that, or and stories of that. And the point of the matter is, when you're aligned and you're doing what you love, and as Jessica says, follow your bliss, you go from pissed to blissed, because you can't create. You can't become a creator when you're pissed, but you can become a creator of infinite, limitless possibilities and creative action when you're in bliss mode. And part of that is doing what you love, that turns your heart on, despite the fear of, oh my God, what if I don't make enough money? Or what if I don't do this? Or what if I don't do that? And let me tell you something. I have so many clients that I coach that had such a tough time, and just taking that leap of faith and saying, well, but I'm making so much money. I've worked so hard to make this much money. I worked so hard to get to where I am now. Now I'm going to start over. So what? What did I say to you before? You have to trust. You have to trust that, as I said to you, your acceleration will be 10 times more doing something you love to do than doing something you don't no longer are being fulfilled by. So what may have taken you, again, 10 years in a career that you hate, now may take you 1 year to fulfill in something that you're doing that you love. And I am definitely an example of that. And I preach that to everybody. Whatever you do, as the Chinese proverb says, wheresoever you go with all of your heart. And I remember hearing one philosopher, I forget his name, but he had one of the most beautiful quotes that I've read in a long time. He said, if you look out to the world and our soul doesn't go out to meet what we see, we do not see it. If we look out to the world and our soul doesn't meet what we see to go out to see it, then we won't see it. So operate from the deepest parts of you, what you love, and it will be revealed to you. Truth, I think divine truth at the deepest level will be revealed to you. I've done it. I feel like I've had experience of that in my meditations, in serving people and speaking engagements, and in my own deep prayer, my own experience of suffering and of deep love. Both, I've experienced both. So, and both are necessary for our growth, for appreciation, for humility, and to die to self. But the point of the matter is, let's accelerate your growth. Continue on doing what you love, and I can tell you right now, man, the journey becomes the destination, because you're just immersed in what you love to do, not for the fruit of your action, but just for the action itself. That's basically what it is. So hopefully you guys got a lot from this podcast. I love doing this podcast. That's why I do it with Cameron, over my power partner, man. We're just impacting, whether it be one person or 1,000 people or 1 million, it doesn't matter. If one person from this podcast goes out and then lives their dream and lives like this podcast is a success. I can tell you that much right now. I'm not looking for 1 million people. Yeah, it would be nice to have 1 million people, but if it's 10 people listen to this podcast on a weekly basis and they're going out and making the difference and they're making upgrades, man, that right there is just, that's great. And even if nobody listens to this podcast this week, it doesn't matter either, because you know what? I'm sending greater vibrations at some level, at a deeper level. So anyway, the point of the matter is, keep on doing what you love. Love what you do what you love. As Les Brown says, a man or woman wasn't born to make a living, but to live his making. And in his living his making, he makes his living. So, leaders and healers, gamers and claimers, ladies and gentlemen from around the universe, from around the globe, Stephanie, thank you and Queen Bee, or Jessica, I think it is, for your comments and your questions, and for joining us on this podcast. You love it. Comment, question, join us, subscribe. It'd be great. We'd love to hear from you to your continued upgrade and evolution. Cameron, I love you, dude. People, I love you. And Cheam team all around the world, we're together as one. All right. To your continued upgrade and evolution, live it up with power, purpose, and passion. God bless.